right.
Okay, well, there's the cut in. Divisional burning questions.
Yes, divisional burning questions.
Today we're going to talk about the AFC
got my drink.
North.
I yelled.
Yeah.
I yelled. I fired 2 people in the break, but I got my drink.
And now it's here. Now, I think the AFC North is the second best division in football after the AFC West. I mean, you could make a case for the NFC West as well.
NFC East, yeah.
NFC East with your Washington Commanders with the great
course,
Carson Wentz
Hail
and
the
Logan
Commander.
Thomas.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, hail victory.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the Ravens, who are
Sure.
the clear favorite in the division,
Yeah.
particularly post Deshaun Watson suspension. The question is, what is the ceiling for Rashad Bateman this season? He's a guy that you've staked your good name to. What's his ceiling?
I think his ceiling is, top 20 wide receiver,
Sure.
top 15. I mean, look, it'll come down to touchdowns, right? And at the moment, we expect a lot of those to go to Mark Andrews and some to Isaiah Likely. But if Rashad Bateman suddenly gets a ton of touchdowns, he's got that ability. I mean, so we expect a massive target share, okay? 26% target share from Marquise Brown last year, 145 targets out the door, now in Arizona. So that's available. And the fact that they didn't do the biggest move they made in free agency or the draft in terms of wide receiver was DeMarcus Robinson.
Yes.
Rashad Bateman's the future. Now again, they're going to run a lot. They're going to run a lot of 12, and they're going to play 2 tight ends, and so which is why we like Isaiah Likely as the third option in that passing game. But as we talked about in segment 1, Jay, we think there's a chance they start throwing a lot more, especially given the injury status of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, and Kenyon Drake just got there, and Mike Davis, nice pass catcher. I don't think they're going to definitely be run heavier than they were last year, but I don't think they're going to be super run heavy the way some people think, at least not at the beginning of the season. So
Lamar Jackson was on pace for almost 4,500 passing yards last season.
Yes.
And to go with around 1,000 rushing yards, but there is the ceiling on Rashad Bateman is that he could be, he likely will be, the most targeted wide receiver on an elite offense.
Correct.
On a division favorite that could easily get the 1 seed, that is going to have lots of opportunities to score, and it could be more pass heavy than we expect.
With a quarterback, by the way, who again, who's playing for a contract. Again,
and also gets better as a pocket passer every season.
Again, NFL teams, it's not just statistical pieces of meat. They are people like you and I, and they all have egos and ambitions and and desires the way everyone does. And I've met Lamar Jackson once in my life. I interviewed him when he was a rookie. So I'm just speaking from afar here, but my belief is that he sits here and sees the deal that a guy in his own division, the deal that Deshaun Watson got, who hasn't, even with the off the field stuff, hasn't played football in almost 2 years.
MVP.
Right. Yeah. Lamar Jackson was a unanimous MVP, and he sees Russell Wilson over the age of 30 get $250 million too. And Lamar Jackson's like, where's mine? Yeah. And so he's a free agent at the end of this year. I mean, I think they can franchise tag him, but he wants to get paid. He wants to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and you're not getting paid if all you're doing is handing off. And so Lamar, who has obviously the ability to check out of any play, I just think they're going to be more pass heavy. I think Lamar's going to have a monster year. I know he was your ride or die choice this year. All in on Lamar.
Let's go Lamar.
So yes, I mean, I love Rashad Bateman made the love list. I'm in on Lamar. I currently have him at wide receiver 31, 70th overall. He's going 82nd overall on Yahoo, so I'm a round higher on him than consensus.
In the betting market, he's set at 850.5 yards, 5.5 touchdowns, so a similar season to what A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, ironically teammates now, but to what they did last year.
Yep.
And that's kind of the average outcome that we're projecting. So he has upside to go 1,000 yards, 7, 8, 9 touchdowns. So I think there's a huge ceiling on Rashad Bateman, and he has the talent as well.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ceiling on him. I think somewhere in the 20 to 30 range is where he probably nets out. I'm at wide receiver 31, but again, higher than consensus, higher than where he's going on Yahoo.
So now, the next question is on the Cincinnati Bengals and on the quarterback who I think that most people would say is the best quarterback in the division over the unanimous MVP of 2019, and that's Joe Burrow. Now, do you think Joe Burrow is being overdrafted?
I do. I mean, look, he's my QB10. He's currently going as QB5 on Yahoo, right? I am at 87th overall. Yahoo has him at 63rd overall. So obviously, look, he made my hate list, and it's not that I think he's a bad quarterback. I think he's a very good NFL quarterback. I think he'll be a good fantasy quarterback. I don't think he'll be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. As you see my quarterback rankings on the screen here, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts at 4, Lamar Jackson at 5, Brady comes in at 6, Kyler's at 7, Dak Prescott at 8, Russell Wilson at 9, and then Joe Burrow comes in at 10. Those are my quarterback rankings. Here's my concern on Joe Burrow. And some of these things I wrote about in my love-hate, which is available for free on rotoworld.com, NBCSportsEdge.com. I'm a company man. 3 of his games last year. Week 16 against Baltimore, Week 17 against Kansas City, and then the earlier game at Baltimore, Week 7. So 2 games against the Ravens and that crazy Week 17 game against the Chiefs. Those 3 games combined for 32% of Joe Burrow's fantasy points last year. Those 3 games. What happened with Joe, and so last year, prior to those last 2 games, that Week 16, Week 17 game, he had 6 straight games of less than 2 touchdown passes. I'm worried about the inconsistency with him, and I'm worried that he had such a magical year last year. Can he repeat it? Get this. Last year, Joe Burrow had a 70% completion rate. He had over 500 pass attempts, and he had at least 8 air yards per attempt. That's a lot of numbers that I just threw at you, but just break it down. In essence, he threw a ton deep, and he completed an insanely high amount of passes. Since the year 2000, the only other quarterbacks that have done that, over 70% completion rate, over 500 pass attempts, at least 8 air yards per target, Deshaun Watson and Drew Brees. And neither of them repeated. Each of those guys did it once since the year 2000. So now you're like, well, Drew Brees is super highly efficient, right? But he started dinking and dunking. It was like Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, and just really close to the line of scrimmage stuff. Joe Burrow's got Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
He got T. Higgins.
Yeah.
He got Tyler Boyd as a nice player. I don't know. Is he going to have a good year? Yes. Is he going to have a top 5 fantasy quarterback year, especially when you consider he doesn't run the way that Lamar or Kyler or the guys going after, or Jalen Hurts, guys that are going after him do? I do not understand Joe Burrow going top 5 among quarterbacks on Yahoo. That makes no sense to me at all. And I like Joe Burrow.
Yeah. From a betting perspective, the Bengals and Burrow, they're a difficult team to figure out because there are so many push and pull factors where, last season they had an incredibly easy schedule of defense. He had almost 1,000 yards just in those 2 games against the Ravens, who had a really bad secondary and not an NFL secondary by that Week 17 game. Now they have the second hardest schedule of defenses in the entire league. So that hurts. Also, he's not going to complete as many 80-yard bombs to Jamar Chase again. No. It's just not going to happen. There's not going to be another 266-yard, 3-touchdown game against the Chiefs for Jamar Chase, most likely. On the other side, he wasn't fully healthy the first half of last season in particular. He had to go into the season, and then it was only in the second half in the playoffs where they really gave him the keys and the chef's hat and kind of just let Joe cook. So is there going to be more of that? They have a better offensive line. Jamar Chase is in his second year. Theoretically, he should be better, which seems difficult to process because he was so good last season. But just like Justin Jefferson, we didn't expect that leap last year either necessarily. Jamar Chase might have another year. He might be the best wide receiver in the league. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that Joe Burrow is just, not fantasy-wise, but football-wise, is just the best quarterback in the league. That's in play. It's not likely, but it's in play. So there's a lot of push and pull with the Bengals. And I think where you end up is I might have him slightly higher than you, but not that much higher. And I definitely have him after Jalen Hurts and those type of guys.
Yeah, again, NFL quarterback skill set and fantasy quarterback skill set are 2 different things.
Yes.
Joe is no question a franchise quarterback, a guy you can build around, and he has that it factor. He is that, guys, we're down 6. There's 1:45 left to go. We got no timeouts. We're on our own 10-yard line. I don't care. Let's go.
Yes.
I'm putting you on my back, and we're driving down the field, and we're scoring a touchdown. We're winning this game. He's got that. I get that. Asked and answered. I don't know, man. With that better offensive line, do they go more balanced? Do they run more? We expect a big year from Joe Mixon. With a better defense, do they get into shootouts here? Every defensive coordinator that has the Bengals on their team, on their schedule this year, spent the offseason going all right, how do we slow down Jamar Chase? Last year, they didn't know how he was going to be used. He'd been out of football for a year, hadn't played the year before at LSU, and so I think he caught a lot of defensive coordinators by surprise. There's only so much you can do in season during the week. But trust me, every defensive coordinator this offseason is just like, oh, we got Jamar Chase week whatever. Like,
Yes.
they're figuring it out. I still have Jamar Chase at wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's going to have a monster year.
Yeah.
I am concerned at quarterback 5. You are baking in every potential piece of profit there. You have very little room to earn anything and lots of chances to go down.
Yeah.
He needs to have a Brady or Rodgers-like season from last year to earn quarterback 5 if he's going ahead of guys like, Kyler and Lamar.
Yeah.
And
we've got his over-under set in the range of 4,500 yards, 34 TDs. And you know who are two guys who could easily
to
put
be
up
clear,
those
by the
numbers?
way, Lamar, I just want to clean this up. Lamar Jackson is going ahead of him on Yahoo. Lamar's going 4, Burrow's going 5. But he's going ahead of Kyler Murray, going ahead of Jalen Hurts, going ahead of Tom Brady. I mean,
I'd rather have Tom Brady.
Right.
I'd also, relative to ADP, those over-unders, 4,500 yards, 34 touchdowns. I think Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins could put up those type of numbers, and they're going outside the top 10.
Yes.
Okay, Cleveland Browns. Now, this is somewhat of a rhetorical question.
Stafford, too, by the way.
Definitely.
Stafford and Rodgers both going way, way later, going 5 or 6 rounds later than Burrow. And I don't think Joe Burrow, fantasy-wise, is 5 or 6 rounds better than Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford or, and he's definitely, I don't think he's 7 or 8 rounds better than Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins, which is what he's doing on Yahoo right now.
Absolutely. Okay, next question's a little bit of a rhetorical question.
Okay.
What are your expectations for the Browns' offense under Jacoby Brissett? I would guess that they are low.
Yeah, I mean, my expectations for the Browns' offense under Jacoby Brissett are well, they'll have an offense.
Yes,
right.
there will be an offense.
They're like, right, the ball will get snapped and
Yes.
Jacoby Brissett will hold
There'll
it.
be men on the field.
Yes, there will be man on the field. Like, they'll play the sport of
They'll
football.
play the football.
Yeah, it will be recognizable to fans. Things will happen.
Things like.
What I would say, I don't have high expectations. I think that they are going to, like, first off, outdoor stadium, like the way they're built and the way Stefanski runs his offense, just in general, we expect slow pace of play. They're going to run the ball a lot. They're going to try to play good defense. They're going to try to grind it out. That was with Baker Mayfield, right? And now they're, now they got Jacoby Brissett, like, who is a downgrade from Baker Mayfield. Yep. So I think it will be a slow-paced, run-heavy offense. I think they'll target the tight end a decent amount. I think they'll probably try to take some deep shots too. And set up play action, try to take some deep shots to Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones, and I kind of like Anthony Schwartz from a dynasty perspective, but ultimately, I don't think this is an exciting offense. I think for Nick Chubb to return his current value, he's currently going as running back 9 on Yahoo.
Too high.
15th overall. I'm at running back 16, 28th overall. I mean, this is a guy who doesn't catch passes, who is volume and touchdown dependent. And I believe that because of Brissett under center, they're not going to have as many first downs, their drives won't sustain as long, and you're going to want to run the ball a lot to protect against Brissett. So you're going to see not just Nick Chubb, but you're going to see Kareem Hunt and Dearness Johnson. And Nick Chubb is obviously going to get his. He's going to get, but like if he doesn't get to 12 touchdowns, I don't know how he gets to that number. I mean, and he may need more than that. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, look.
The betting market is projecting Cleveland, as you would expect, as a bottom 10 offense in the same range as Carolina, Jacksonville, kind of like both of those offenses more than Cleveland right now. Okay, another team.
He's just, for where he's going in Nick Chubb, I'll just say this last thing real quickly. He had 6 games last year where he had under 10 fantasy points. He's just, I think, from a skill set standpoint, Nick Chubb's one of the best actual running backs in the NFL. Like, he's a phenomenal running back, but he doesn't catch passes in that offense, and he's too touchdown dependent to be going 9th among running backs in a bad offense. Like, again, he is, when he doesn't score touchdowns, like, it's not always pretty, and for a guy that you're using your first round pick on, gets a little dicey for me.
Going to be a lot of Jacoby Brissett throwing incomplete on 3rd and 7.
Yes.
Now, the Steelers, another team that's going to be throwing
incomplete.
I
do like Njoku late.
Okay.
That's the only Cleveland offensive player that I sort of
like.
Ends?
Who's on your list?
Yeah. In terms of ADP, in terms of where all the Browns players are going according to ADP, Njoku's actually the only player that I'd be like, all right.
Yeah.
I don't mind Kareem Hunt either, but not so much.
Okay. Any concern Najee Harris is too volume dependent?
I'm concerned he a little bit. I'm actually more concerned about his passing game usage.
Okay.
So, I mean, last year, 74 receptions, 467 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was the 7th best running back on a points per game basis. That was last year. All right? So, you look at this. In terms of last year, running backs with over 200 touches, now Najee Harris ranked 21st out of 26 running backs in yards per rush of qualified running backs. 21 out of 26.
Yeah.
3.9 yards per carry, right? 3 yards per rush, I should say. Among running backs with 200 or more touches, Najee Harris with 22nd out of 26 in yards per reception. So again, last year he was driven by insane volume, right? I mean, he had over almost 400 touches last year. So just insane volume and huge passing game usage. Again, 74 receptions. And as we've talked about many times on the show, Jay, I don't think Mitch Trubisky is going to dump off nearly as much as Big Ben. Trubisky is an upgrade. Yeah. Kenny Pickett is an upgrade from Big Ben last year, who last year had to dump off a lot because he couldn't throw deep and he's so immobile. Yep. Trubisky is more likely to, and even Pickett a little bit, if the coverage breaks down, to run a little bit more as opposed to dumping it off. Harris still going to be involved in the passing game, but I think 40 receptions, 50 receptions is much closer than the 74 he's going to get. So he was volume and passing game usage dependent last year, and I'm nervous that he's still going to get a lot of work, make no mistake, and we think this offense will be better than it was last year. But given the fact that, we're excited about Chase Claypool out of the slot, we're excited about George Pickens, second year of Freiermuth. I'm a little nervous at his ADP. He's going as running back 6th, 9th overall. I'm at running back 7, slightly lower, but 12th overall. So I think he's more of a top of the second round guy than middle of the first.
With that offensive line and that context with the quarterback and maybe the upgraded receiver room, don't think there's any path to efficiency for Najee Harris, but the volume is what you want and what you like.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.